So, we had a huge announcement at this year's Game Awards, Monster Hunter Wilds 2025. I lost my mind with this announcement, and I know Twitter went crazy. All Monster Hunter fans were waiting for this announcement. And with this announcement, I want to talk about a few things that we can expect from this game, or potentials that we can see. I'm going to be talking about the trailer itself and things I noticed or what other people have pointed out. I'm also going to be theorizing what monsters could come back from previous titles. So stick around. Let's get going. Let's talk about the trailer itself then. We didn't really get anything long or anything concise as far as the trailer goes, but we did get a bunch of small details. Obviously, we see that we have a lizard palamute type of creature, and we have our weapon, there's monsters, and a new environment. But there are some specifics that came out that other people have pointed out. I saw a tweet recently from this user about the scoutfly cage on the hunter. So I think with this, it almost immediately confirms that this takes place at least somewhere around the New World, or we are the same hunter from Monster Hunter World. Also, along with the scoutfly cage, the same user had pointed out that it looks like we also get slinger ammo again, which is incredibly hype. I enjoyed using the slinger in World, and it just provides some extra damage and utility when you're fighting. I think there's a lot of reasons that we can speculate about it being in the New World or somewhere around the New World. The reason for this, besides the scoutfly cage, is that it's literally Monster Hunter 6. Monster Hunter World was Monster Hunter 5, so I don't know. It seems pretty likely. And talking about the palamute lizard again, it seems like they did take some quality of life from Rise. Now, if you know anything about me, I wasn't the biggest fan of Rise. It was good, but not usually what I expect from a Monster Hunter title, and that's okay. But one of my favorite things about Rise, maybe my favorite thing actually, is the palamutes. They were very helpful in helping us get around the environment. I usually always kept my palamute on me. I don't think I ever used a palico actually. So I'm very excited to see one of these, even if it's a lizard of some sort. It kind of reminds me of a mixture of the monster riders you would get in World with the palamute somehow. Something I noticed in the trailer and I had talked about with some friends is it looks like the environment is changing in the trailer, even if it's for a brief moment. You can see it right here that the environment seems to shift somehow. Now, I don't know if that's just a trailer feature to kind of, make the game look good, but it does seem like this might be a core mechanic. There's always some sort of gimmick in these games that you need to go out and explore and do hunter things. In Monster Hunter World, it was that there were monsters dying and all this energy being gathered, and why were the Elder Dragons dying, and why were they traveling, all that fun stuff. The story, if anyone listens to that in a Monster Hunter game. It's possible that this is going to be our next gimmick/story reason that we're going to be going to this area. It lines up with other titles. In Monster Hunter 4, that's when we had the virus, and you had to go investigate, and then we found Gormagala, which is the flagship monster, etc, etc. I don't know what that's going to entail, but I'm hoping that's a core mechanic of the game. Someone pointed out on Reddit as well that it seems like we get a bowgun in our bag, and we also have our main weapon, which looks like a greatsword in the trailer, on our hunter's back. So my question is, do we also get a secondary weapon? Maybe it's just a light bowgun, but if what I'm thinking is going to happen is we have two weapons that we can switch in between combat, which will be helpful for my next theory on that this might be an open world game. Open world games have been increasingly popular over the last few years. I mean, look at Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, GTA, Elder Scrolls, you know the deal. These games have been increasingly popular and definitely demanded. I would not be surprised if the team has been working on an open world Monster Hunter somehow. Now, I don't exactly know how this would work, considering Monster Hunter is known to have at least some sort of loading areas or some sort of gathering hub, but I think it's likely that we can see some sort of open world aspect. I would say World was pretty close to open world in some regards, obviously having maps and whatnot, but I don't know how they would make that work, but I think it's a possibility for sure. Unfortunately, though, with the trailer length, I don't think there's really much more I can theorize on. I mean, we see great Monster Hunter gameplay. It's a fantastic trailer, but it doesn't give us too much to look at. But with that, I think we'll move on to the monsters that we can potentially see in Monster Hunter Wilds. So when we bring up monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds, I do think it might be a possibility that we see water monsters again. If you didn't play the game in Tri or 3U, you're probably not going to be familiar with this mechanic, and it hasn't been brought back since 3U, if I remember correctly. So I heard from someone that Capcom had made a statement about water fights and that they want to bring them back, but I'm unable to confirm this. I can't find this anywhere. If you did play Tri or 3U, you would know that water fights were kind of annoying. Very clunky in some ways. It was just overall a bit difficult. It definitely had some limitations, to put it lightly. I do think if they're able to rework the system of water fights, it could be very enjoyable. I guess it's more copium that I hope they come back, because I do miss my boy Ligaya Chris a lot. I do think, with that being said, we could potentially see maybe Lesioth, dare I say? Meh. Maybe Gabool, and maybe some new monsters that have some water fights. Since we don't know the environment that these monsters are going to be in, it's hard to say what exactly we could see, so just a theory for now. One of the monsters I'm hoping to see would be Najarala. It's a giant snake monster, really cool, I love its movements. I think it would fit into the environment we've seen so far quite well. Has some sound damage, paralysis, it's a cool monster. I did see some people say they also wanted to see Nibblesnarf back, and being that this trailer seems to take place in a desert-like environment, I don't think that we can count that out. We might be seeing the return of Nibblesnarf as well. With Elder Dragon's return, we could potentially see Gen Moran. If you're asking me though, I don't really think I'd like to see this monster again. I never quite enjoyed that fight, but it's likely. I don't know how Elder Dragon fights are going to work. If there's anything with massive cutscenes, I'm just hoping we're able to skip them, honestly. I think it's likely that we see some other monsters that we haven't seen in some time, such as Monoblos or Hermitor. Other than that, I personally would love to see Delamador. I don't know how they would make that work. The model might just be too big with a potentially open world game. I don't know how that would run, but I'd love to see Delamador. Biggest monster in the Monster Hunter universe. That would make my heart so happy. I do think that it is very possible that we see new invader monsters. I don't really know if Deviljho will come back. I think he's a staple and they should bring him back. He's my favorite monster. But they have a lot of potential here to have multiple invader monsters, and I think that would be really fun. I do think we will see all the Jaggies. They have always been a staple in the Monster Hunter series, but I don't think we've had a single game where they've all been around. It would be really cool to see them in their own individual environments here. So I'm gonna say, I would like to see all the Jaggies come back. I think it's also fair to say most of the Monster Hunter World monsters are probably going to be coming back as well. The reason that I say this is because Monster Hunter is known to reuse some of their models into other games. It makes it easier for them to just kind of port them over. I think it would be hype as well to see any of the monsters from Monster Hunter Generations. They had some really awesome designs, and I would love to see them come back. I'd also love to see Seregios. Seregios is my pinecone dude, and I love him. Ultimately, with the potential for this game, I think we could see almost any of the monsters come back, and that's really exciting. Although it's hard to speculate right now since we have a very limited viewpoint, I think it's safe to say that anything is on the table right now. For now, we're gonna have to wait until they release some more info. But if you're craving to play some Monster Hunter, I highly recommend that you pick up Monster Hunter World. It's on sale right now, and Capcom is pushing its return with the hashtag #ReturnToWorld. I've been enjoying it, it's so much fun, and I think that'll satisfy some cravings until the new game comes out in 2025. What are your theories? Let me know in the comments below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!